all. Welcome back to SAP channel. Today we learn more about the interview question and how to crack the tricky questions. And here the questions are for 2 plus years of experience. Let us start. What are the documents generated for in the standard 101 movement type and what are the accounts are hit? The answer should be material document and the accounting document will be created. B6 account, that is stock account, will be debited and WRX account will be credited. This should be your answer. Since it is in a standard question asked by the interviewer, so that you should be able to answer it with a confidently that the material document and the accounting document will be generated and BSX account will be debited, WRX will be credited. This should be your answer. Moving on to the next question. Tell me about the quota arrangement. Since the quota arrangement have been given the higher priority in the source determination, that is the first place the quota and next to that source list and below that outline agreement and below that the basic one info record. So the interviewer will ask the question about the quota arrangement. The T code is MEQ1 to create the quota. The answer is if the material can be obtained by or from the various sources of supply, each individual sources of supply can be allocated a quota. This quota arrangement is valid for a certain period of time and it also specifies exactly how the receipts should be distributed among the each source of supply, that is more than one or more suppliers. You can set the quota arrangement for in-house production and as well as the external procurement. The sources of supply can be an individual vendor or on the outline agreement or from the another plant, that is plant A, from which the material should be procured, and lastly the production version. These are the majorly sources of supply can be obtained. How to check the current open period and how to open the current period for the postings and to close the previous one. This is the question, to check and to open the current period and to close the previous one. The answer should be you can check the current period with two transaction code, that is OMSY and also MMRV to check the current open period. And the T code MMPV is to open the current period and to close the previous one. For example, if the current month is July, you need to open the current month and you need to close the previous one, that is June month. For this, to open and close the previous one, use the T code MMPV and to check the current month, the July month, that is to MMRV or you can check in OMSY too. Moving on to the next question. What is the meaning of R in R/3 system? This is a tricky one. It's better to know what is R/3 stands for. The R/3 stands for the real-time 3-tier architecture. The R is real-time, 3 means 3-tier architecture. This is the kind of the architecture SAP R/3 has it. The R3 means 3 layers are installed in different system or the server and they are connected with each other. The 3-tier are presentation, application, database. Presentation, application, database. This should be your answer. Moving on to the next question. In STO, stock transport order or the transfer posting process, when will the accounting documents be created? The answer should be in stock transfer process, always the accounting documents will be created at the time of goods issue only because the goods issue will be done by the supplying plant. Material is valuated at the supplying plant only. the value will be still at the supplying plant although the goods are in transit to the receiving plant. But the valuation will be at the supplying plant. For example, if the supplying plant is A and the receiving plant is B, the material is still laying with the supplying plant and it is moved to the transit, but still the value will be evaluated in plant A only until unless the receiving plant has accepted that material completely. Only then the value will be moving to the receiving plant called B. Till then the valuation will be at the supplying plant A. Here you need to bear two things in the stock transfer process. Always the accounting document will be created at the time of the goods issue only, and the material evaluated will be at the supplying plant although it is in transit. Moving on to the next question. Okay, and also the accounting documents are created for the transfer posting between plant to plant only. This is also you should maintain, because the storage location to storage location cannot generate the accounting documents. Why? Because the valuation area will be done at the plant level. Whatever the material evaluated is under plant level. So the accounting documents cannot be created if it is being exchanged among storage location 1, storage location 2. Moving on to the next question. What is meant by time dependent and independent condition? Time dependent and time independent condition. The answer should be the time independent condition, the validity period and the scales can be specified in this time dependent condition. You can also define a price range, that is the tolerance limit they are talking about, the upper and the lower limits. The conditions in the info record and the contract are always the time dependent. Info record and the contract. Here the duration is important because they have the validity and the scales. RFQ and the scheduling agreements can be time dependent or independent. Like RFQ and the scheduling agreements can be both time dependent and the time independent. The standard system recommends the time dependent for those two documents, but it can be managed as per the document wise. Okay, it is a tweaking. It can also be considered that RFQ and the scheduling agreements can be both time independent and the time dependent. So, let us check the second one, time independent condition. Here there will be no validity periods or the scales are defined. The conditions in the purchase orders are always time independent. P are always time independent. Moving on to the next question. What are the accounting entries for STO intercompany codes? Means it is asking then the stock transport order intercompany. Under the same legal entity, two plants will exchange the material. The answer is, for the intercompany STO at the supplying plant post the goods issue. Since you are issuing the goods, the BSS account will be credited. The cost of the goods account will be debited. That is GBP. GBP will be debited. BSX will be credited. And account modifier will be VAY. And at the same time, at the receiving plant, plant B, they will receive the goods. So, they'll post a GR. The stock account will be debited. That is, the stock account will be plus. And the WRX, the GRR clearing account will be credited. So, here, when you are issuing the goods, you will have an account modifier. And in the GR, posting the GR, there will be no account modifier. So, you need to bear the intra-company STOs will have two plants. One is supplying plant and at the receiving plant. The supply will post a goods issue, so the BSX will be credited and GBP will be debited, and the account modifier is VAY. And at the same time, the receiving plant will post the GR, BSX will be debited, WRX is credited. Moving on to the next question. What is the T code to create a new material type and the material group? To create the material type is OMS2, and to create the material group OMSF, and to create the new industrial type is OMS3. Here they are asking material group and the material type. The material type is OMS2, industrial type is OMS3, and material group is OMSF. That's all for this segment. Okay, one more question is there. What are the accounting entries and when you do the GR against the consignment PO? Now, the accounting entries for consignment order is, there will be no accounting entries when you do the GR against the consignment PO. The accounting entries will be generated only when you move the stock to the own from the consignment. That is 411K. When you do that, only then the accounting entries will be generated, and your liability will also be started only if you consider the stock to be into your plant. Only then you will be liable to pay the vendor. So the answer is no, there will be no accounting entries when you do the GR against the consignment PO. The accounting entries only will hit only when the goods are moved to the own stock. That's all for this segment. Thank you all, and do subscribe. Your subscription will be a motivation to me to come up with many tricky questions, and you will be thoroughly helpful to answer those tricky questions, and you will grab the offer letter as soon as possible. Do subscribe and do like, share and subscribe. Thank you again.